I know I've touched on this topic recently, but our games are disappearing, and it worries me. In recent years, the gaming industry has started leaning more towards an all-digital market. We can see this the clearest with Microsoft and Sony releasing digital-only version consoles alongside their traditional disc-based systems.
Having a digital gaming library does have its advantages, like it helps keep your game safe from tornadoes. You can't choke on a digital game unless it's Superhero Fight Club Reloaded. You don't have to worry about discs getting scratched or cartridges accidentally getting lost. It helps with less clutter. You can take all your games with you on one device without having to carry multiple cartridges, etc. And finally, it helps us acquire games that we wouldn't be able to acquire otherwise.
If you search through multiple physical shops in my country, you will find about 50 different titles in the world, with most stores carrying less than 10 different titles, which you probably already own. If I want to buy a physical game, I either have to order it online and wait for weeks, or drive 2 hours to get to a shop that is overpriced and doesn't carry anything I want. In my country, you're able to buy about 250 different physical games for the Nintendo Switch, if you search hard enough online. But a lot of the titles are either codes in a box, or overpriced, like the FIFA games, or something you don't really want to own, like the FIFA games.
Listen here, EA, I'm not paying $70 for FIFA on the Nintendo Switch. Besides, I already own FIFA.
In comparison to the amount of physical games that are available, the Nintendo Switch eShop has more than 7,000 titles, although there are a lot of doubles of some games.
But we'll talk about that in another video. So please hit that like and subscribe button to achieve your dreams. Look at this chart. More than 2 of you are not subscribed. Why?
I know majority of the games on the eShop are bad and you should never spend money on them. But there are a lot of gems that we wouldn't be able to get unless we go through a tedious importing process, where our packages get lost by the mailing service and then rediscovered once we don't have money to pay the hefty import fees.
Just no, okay? No. Just no. No.
By the time that most people see this video, it will already be too late to do anything about it. At this point, you're probably wondering, what is the easiest way to make some popcorn fast? And whether or not I have a point? Well, in May 2022, you will no longer be able to add funds to the Nintendo 3DS and Wii U eShops using a credit card. And from August 2022, you will no longer be able to add funds using the eShop gift cards. Funds already in your account will be able to be used until March 2023, at which point you can transfer the remaining balance to the Switch eShop. I don't know what your situation might be, but removing ways of adding funds to the 3DS eShop will make it a lot more difficult for me to purchase new free games on the system. At this point, the Nintendo Switch has outsold both the 3DS and Wii U consoles combined, and most people have moved on from the older consoles in favor of the new one.
It doesn't make it hurt any less.
So why should we care about these older consoles when there are rarely any people playing them? The Switch has thousands of great titles. Do we really need the older ones?
Yes.
Do you know what the Switch does not have that you can play on your 3DS and Wii U consoles? Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Gear, Wii, Wii U, DS and 3DS games. Sure, the first few consoles on the list could come to the Nintendo Switch in the future, like all the ports of the Wii U library, and others as part of the Nintendo Switch Online consoles. But it is going to be difficult to emulate DS and 3DS games properly on the system. After the closure of the Wii U and 3DS eShops in March 2023, you will still be able to re-download the titles you have already purchased and updates. But you can't get anything new, no DLC or even free apps. Nintendo hasn't given a time frame as to how long you will still be able to re-download your titles, but even that has to come to an end someday.
Why?
More than just games, but gaming experiences will also get lost. Things like the Pokebank on the 3DS that allows you to transfer Pokemon between the Pokemon games on the console will also be unobtainable once the 3DS eShop shuts down, meaning people who don't already have it on their consoles will be left behind when they ever pick up these games. Not everyone can afford to complete the library of games, and some people need to carefully choose what they pick over a long period of time. My camera guy just got into the PS Vita. Imagine he had to experience it without Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified. He will never know how bad that game is compared to Killzone Mercenaries. Hopefully, we can bring his best shooting games on the Vita review within the next 5 years. Another problem arising is that once the eShop closes down, many physical games start to skyrocket in value, making them ridiculously expensive, like what happened with Earthbound originally. A good game is a good game, but $300 is a bit too much. They also become less and less available to a point where you can't find the games you want. This increase in the game prices also doesn't benefit the creator or publishers of a game, as money is only received by the second-hand seller.
And the government.
In a deleted Q&A with Nintendo, they stated that there are more than 130 classic games available as part of the terrible Nintendo Switch Online subscription, so fuck you. These aren't the exact words used, since I'm just paraphrasing, but that's basically what it said. The Q&A must not have gone down well, since they removed it, but not before it was archived on the internet and talked about by a lot of YouTubers. This matter got so much traction because out of the more than 70 million units of the 3DS family being sold, there are still a lot of people using it and other people just discovering it now. Like me, I only picked up my 3DS after I got my Switch and wanted some Pokemon games without permanent XP share. Not so long ago, Nintendo also recommended fans purchase the Metroid games on Virtual Console in order to let fans better experience and understand the series. Now that avenue is disappearing and Nintendo is making no effort to provide these games elsewhere.
Now where did I put that peg leg of mine?
So far, I've only talked about Nintendo, but this spreads much further in the gaming industry. In 2021, Sony announced the discontinuation of the PSP, PS Vita and PS3 stores. They eventually reversed the decision to close the PS Vita and PS3 stores until further notice, but how long do they intend on keeping it that way? The PSP store, on the other hand, has been shut down. The only console brand that seems to be on the preservation side of digital games is Xbox. They seem to be interested in letting you carry forward all the titles. Their latest consoles even have backwards compatibility with most of the games released on their older consoles. And even the Xbox 360 store is still up and working in 2022, with no announcements of it shutting down soon. Recently, the Wii eShop has been down. Nintendo made a statement after a long wait that the Wii eShop is undergoing maintenance. It's been undergoing maintenance for more than 3 weeks now, and the Wii eShop is still not working, leaving fans who want to re-download their order purchases stranded.
Now that I've talked about it in a video, the Wii eShop will just magically return. You can thank me later.
Recently, some people have also been reporting problems with their digital games on the PS Vita. Apparently, the expiry dates for these games have been moved to a ridiculous date, making them unplayable, as they fail the digital license check. The closure of these shops also hold a problem for physical games. As most of you know, not only Cyberpunk 2077, but a lot of games get released in an incomplete state and need to be updated in order to make certain features like playing the game work. Once the services for these older consoles has been discontinued, the updates will also eventually be lost, making certain titles unplayable in the future. We all knew that this time would eventually come, but it's still sad to see so many games disappear within such a short time, never to be played again until they get re-released. It is also sad that I will have to make this video again in 2029 when the Nintendo Switch eShop closes.
Piracy!
Do you really think people are going to pay $300 to play Earthbound? No, they're going to pay $300 to put it on their shelves and download the ROM instead. Making these games unobtainable only leads to one thing, and that is more people sailing the high seas on the internet. They don't just pirate the games, they also preserve the updates and DLC that would have been lost, and they keep games alive by launching new fan servers. Although I prefer not to encourage it, it feels like as time goes on, more and more reasons arise to switch over to the dark side and hack your older consoles. The process keeps getting easier and safer on these systems as time goes on. For a company that actively lobbies against the piracy of their games and goes after hackers with a vengeful force, it is strange to see how easily they discontinued a way for people to keep legally playing their older Nintendo experiences. I've owned a Wii for 10 years and played it less than 10 times until I got my Nintendo Switch. It was only after I reconnected with what makes Nintendo games special that I got interested in picking up experiences on the Virtual Console and even Wii titles such as Donkey Kong Country Returns, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Super Metroid Prime Trilogy, and Animal Crossing. Some of these experiences are so hard to find in a physical form, or for a price that doesn't send you into poverty, and Nintendo doesn't show any signs of making them available anytime soon. Thank me next week when the Metroid Prime Trilogy gets released and Nintendo probably launches all of its consoles as part of their super extended online subscription.
I still love my 3DS and all the amazing experiences it carries. Oh I hacked it by accident.